What is up, everybody? This is my advanced astrology workshop for the Minneapolis mandate. Now, real quick before I get into this video, I have lived in St. Paul, Minnesota since I was born, February 26, 2005 until now, February 16, 2026. I'm currently living in Midway, St. Paul, where I grew up, and we have a lot of things going wrong in this city and in this state that I'm not happy about, and a lot of people are not happy about that are in the state of Minnesota, that are whether they're new here or whether they were born here like myself. And so what I want to do is provide a advanced astrology workshop. And I was actually notified about Melt the Ice, which is essentially it's going to be a collaborative city type of meeting, so we can talk about and discuss the ways that we can help one another during these events. And I would like to help people in this city, in this state, and globally with astrology. And what I want to do in this video is specifically go over my workshop for this, the location being in the Twin Cities metro area, so St. Paul and Minneapolis. And I'm going to talk about political astrology and civic defense in the Pluto and Aquarius era. So the critical transit window is February through March of this year, 2026. And how I would format this is a 3-hour intensive sessions and field application. I would say the prerequisite to attend this workshop is an advanced natal chart proficiency, but I also want to help beginners as well. So what I'm talking about is the fact of the matter is, as federal ICE operations in Minnesota escalate and political tensions reach a crescendo during the Mars-Pluto conjunction of January 2026, this intensive workshop equips advanced astrologers with the tools to analyze, contextualize, and respond to the current crises through a sophisticated astrological lens. We will address not only the astrological dynamics underlying the political warfare occurring in our streets, but also develop a robust framework for defending the practice of astrology itself during authoritarian escalation. How do you deal with the Inquisition, the Nazis, ISIS, the secret police, the occupiers, the forces of operation, the slave catchers, ICE? What if they come knocking on your door? Let's talk about our first session, which is the astrology of state power and civic crises. So our core thesis is the recent ICE killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy on Nicollet Avenue, representing not isolated incidents, but astrological signatures of a deeper systemic transformation visible through mundane chart analysis and advanced asteroid work. So we chart the crises, which is the Minneapolis ICE killings. We begin with a forensic astrological examination of the January 2026 ICE shootings, demonstrating how advanced techniques reveal the karmic and mundane signatures embedded in these events. So with our case study analysis on Alex Preddy, November 9th, 1988, died January 24th, 2026. In our configuration interpretation, natal Copland station, 28 degrees Cancer, square gun, 28 degrees Libra, police, and firearms as life-defining theme, stationary points. And then we're talking about Nicollet Avenue. There isn't an exact conjunct natal Sun, 17 degrees Scorpio, and there's brutality involved, which, activated at death. I want to talk about the Mars-Pluto conjunction in Aquarius. So we should be analyzing the astrological conditions that created the perfect storm for state-perpetrated violence. So Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, which occurred January 27th. The Lord of War meets the Lord of the Underworld in the sign of structures, systems, and the collective, and this configuration signaled the weaponization of institutional power against individuals. What is Neptune's role? Well, transit Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, conjunct Preddy's natal Mars 2 days post-mortem, reveals the fire hose administration lies in the confusion, zealotry surrounding the events. Saturn-Neptune dissolution. With Saturn in the final degrees of Pisces conjoining Neptune, we witness the dissolution of legal boundaries and the loosening of bonds that held the world together. Let's talk about Pluto and Aquarius some more, and institutional abuse. So drawing on historical parallels such as the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and echoes of World War II, we established the broader context of Pluto's transit through Aquarius. 2024 through 2044, the pattern of treachery. Under Pluto and Aquarius, square Mars and Scorpio, we see people abusing corporate and government power to harm individuals for personal advancement. Unearned power dynamics. Desperate people are dangerous people. When institutions feel their power structures threatened, they lash out violently to protect the house of cards. Historical echoes. Pluto and Aquarius last appeared during the late 18th century revolutions. Neptune and Aries last appeared during the American Civil War. Their simultaneous activation in 2026 is unprecedented in modern American history. Let's talk about Saturn and Aries. Resistance, resilience, and revolutionary ethics. So Saturn's entry into Aries marks the beginning of a 2.5-year cycle of organized resistance to oppression, offering astrologers both a challenge and a mandate. And it already is in Aries as of February 13th this year. Saturn in its fall, the challenge and the opportunity. So Saturn entered Aries, its sign of fall, on February 13th, 2026, remaining until 2028. This placement demands sophisticated interpretation. The fall of oppressive leaders. When a planet is in its fall or detriment, it indicates serious challenges and the potential collapse of that which it represents. So Saturn in Aries may well signify the fall of oppressive leaders and systems. Aries as leadership. The sun is exalted in Aries, representing leaders, celebrities, and authority figures. Saturn here forces us to scrutinize our relationship to power, which companies are supporting fascism and socioeconomic inequities and systemic oppression, and which are not. Discernment versus disengagement. Saturn's keyword is discernment. In Aries, we must become discerning about which leaders we support, while also completely reimagining what leadership, business, and power mean. Let's take a look at Foxfire astrology, resisting oppression through cosmic awareness. We explore the metaphor of foxfire, the luminous fungus that causes decaying wood to glow, as a framework for Saturn and Aries activism. So Saturn equals decay and fungus. Saturn represents the structures that are rotting, the oppressive systems falling away. Aries equals luminosity and fire. The fire sign where the sun is exalted represents the glow that emerges from darkness. So our synthesis is the decay process itself. Saturn can result in a glow. Aries, light emerging from darkness as we resist oppressive authority and reclaim our agency. Real quick, I just want to give a film analysis, like a movie analysis. So the screening and discussion of Foxfire, which came out in 1996, Angelina Jolie's portrayal of women and gender-expansive youth banding together to fight sexual harassment and resist oppressive authority. This movie emerged during the last Saturn and Aries transit and offers a blueprint for collective resistance. Let's talk about configurations of resistance, applying aspect theory to activism. Drawing on the questionnaires' emphasis on aspect configurations, we analyze charts of resistance. So quintiles as liberation tools. When south node biquintile to Venus meets a north node sextile to Saturn, how might past creative expressions inform disciplined future development? We explore how the fifth harmonic, creative intellectual operating system, can be mobilized for civic defense. Moving on to T-squares of turmoil. The T-square from Damocles, 10 degrees Pisces, opposing Polyzi, 14 degrees Virgo, with asteroids Lachesis and Alex at the apex. This configuration images looming threat of death for Preti from police. How do we identify similar patterns in activist networks? The quintile Yod in resistance charts, hypothetical analysis of charts showing genius level insight into healing arising from foundational wounds. Saturn Chiron activated by quintile Mercury, applicable to trauma-informed organizing. Now let's get into our third session, which is defending astrology, apologetics, ethics, and survival. All right. So, in times of political crises, astrology faces attack from both authoritarian forces who fear its truth-telling capacity and skeptical progressive who dismiss it as escapist. we must develop robust defenses on both fronts. So let's talk about the quantum case for astrology, all right? And I've talked about this in my other videos, quantum. Subscribe, like, and comment, because I talk about this every day. Drawing on the convergence of quantum physics and astrological theory, we build an unassailable intellectual foundation. Quantum entanglement at the quantum level, everything everywhere is connected. At the core, humans are all one, spiritually and psychically. The motion of planets is included in that entanglement. Astrology as patterning of knowledge. Astrology was devised by mathematicians thousands of years ago as a system for recognizing cycles and drawing inferences. No different from chemistry or botany. The weather forecast model. Astrology functions like a weather forecast. The odds are there, but they don't determine outcomes. It doesn't have to be. Let's talk about the shadow side, astrological weaponization. So here's what we must acknowledge. That astrology can be and is being used for harmful purposes. Satanic authoritarian use, folks in league with satanic forces, are using astrology for evil purposes such as destroying civilizations and the enslavement of humanity. The Minneapolis timing, the riots occurred during the most dangerous transit of 2026, not coincidentally, but because the timing of the Minneapolis riots is no accident. Ethical practice in crises. How do we ensure our astrological work serves liberation rather than manipulation? What are the ethics of prediction during political violence? Our practical defense, responding to skeptics and suppressors. For the intellectual skeptic, I've got a graduate degree, I've been to university, but nevertheless, we role-play conversations with academics, journalists, and policymakers who dismiss astrology. Key talking points. Astrology's 10,000-year history across every culture, the mathematical bases of aspect calculation, empirical evidence. If people keep reading me, they're getting something from it, and the moon's documented effects on emergency rooms and police work. For the authoritarian threat, documentation protocols, how to keep astrological records that won't incriminate clients if seized. Privacy in practice, encrypted communication, coded language in written work. Community defense, building networks of astrologers who can verify and preserve each other's work. Legal rights, what astrologers need to know about First Amendment protections for divinatory practice. Now we get into the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. We close with an extended meditation on the February 2026 Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the Aries point, the most significant transit of the year and perhaps the decade. Dissolution and rebirth. Saturn-Neptune represents the end of the global order. Alliances broken, rules dissolved, nothing yet in place to replace them. The Aries point activation, when this conjunction occurs at 0 degrees Aries, the global axis, its effects are felt worldwide, in every domain of public life. The wake-up call. This conjunction signals waking from illusions, the unavoidable reckoning where we must see clearly or be destroyed by what we refuse to see. Foxfire's promise, as Saturn represents decay and Neptune represents dissolution. Their union in Aries suggests that the decay of oppressive systems will glow with the light of new possibility, if we have eyes to see it. All right. Now, I want to go through our workshop materials and resources. So our required reading, provided in digital packets by Alex Miller. We have an astrological eye on the ICE killing in Minneapolis, round 2, Daykeeper Journal, January 2026. Oxford Astrologer, Astrology of Now, Fear and Cruelty, January 2026. Aryan Astrology, Saturn and Aries, Foxfire, Resisting Oppression. All right, Rethinking Survival, QP and Astrology. We have our recommended tools. Asteroid Ephemeris for Copland, Gunn, Iceland, Polizzi, and Damocles. Quantum Physics Primer, Paul Levy, The Quantum Revelation. Secure Communication Protocols for Astrological Practitioners. And of course, we have our community agreements, no recording of sessions without explicit permission, all charts shared remain confidential. This is a practice of mutual aid. We share knowledge to protect each other, and what we learn here, we take into the streets. Post-workshop engagement. Participants will be invited to join the Foxfire Network, a mutual aid collective of astrologers providing free chart readings for those directly impacted by ICE operations. Nicollet Avenue Remembrance Project, ongoing astrological tracking of locations where state violence has occurred. Saturn and Aries Study Group, monthly meetings through 2028 to track the transits unfolding. When they are let off the leash, it's very hard to get the dogs back under control. Cruelty has its own momentum. Our momentum must be greater. Thank you for watching this video. State of Minnesota, I'm here. Piscean X out.